Hi, I'm Steve. I'm obsessed with comic books, and I've been obsessed with comic books my entire life. Not just comic books, comic strips. Strips meaning like Peanuts with like a 4-panel kind of format. 1-panel gags like Marmaduke and Family Circus. Both horrible comics. But I used to clip them and collect them and like organize them as a kid. I knew they were bad. I just wanted to have some 1-panel comics, some 5-panel comics, and on the weekends I'd cut out from the Sunday weekend section like the full color ones, which is like a more intense Peanuts story. You get like a really heavy duty Peanuts story there, so I'd be like, I gotta save those ones, and Calvin and Hobbes, and I had all these scrapbooks, and it was just in addition to that, I'd collect comic books. 24 pages was like ecstasy for me compared to like, if 1 panel of Marmaduke pleased me, come on, 1 issue of Fantastic Four, 24 pages, it was like. So I ended up collecting all of these long boxes, all of these stacks of comics in every format. And this was all through my childhood, my teenage years. All my family told me I was going to outgrow it. Never outgrew it. And then in 2002, I had a chance to go to Comic-Con in San Diego. And this should have been an experience that it would change my life for the better in every way, and it kind of messed me up. And it's because I started thinking about comics so intensely because I was offered an opportunity to write a comic for DC Comics. And I'd never written a comic before. And I was like, I was so stressed. I wanted to be on time for the meeting, and I was like, I'm gonna arrive on the Wednesday, and then that's the day of the meeting, but I'm gonna get there really early. And I got to the airport, and the flight was delayed. I was like, okay. I was stressed out already because I'd gone through customs. I had to go explain why I was going to the US, and they said to me, what's your reason for going to the United States of America? And I said, I'm going to a comic convention. And they said, comic convention? Comic-Con wasn't like it is now. People didn't go with movie stars. This is 2002. Comic convention? Tell me a joke if you're a comic. It's like, well, no, like comic books. Comic books. You're an adult man. I was like, oh man, I'm already stressed about this. So the guy says, okay, so you're into comic books? I said, yeah, I'm an adult man who loves comic books. How much is Conan #4 worth? I was like, I'm not a price guide. I don't know, man. After making me sweat forever, he finally let me through. I got on my flight, went to LAX. It was my transfer to San Diego from LAX. And on the flight between Toronto and LAX, I started freaking out, and my entire life started becoming a comic book. And I started seeing things. I started recalling that adventure I had with that border guard and thinking of how I would draw that as a comic strip. I'm like, as a 1-panel comic, what would the caption be underneath it if it was me with the border guard, like it's a New Yorker comic? And then I started thinking, no, it's actually like more like a 5-panel comic because we had a good exchange. And I was like, how would I draw that guy? Would he draw me more like a Garfield style? He had kind of big, sleepy eyes. He'd be like Garfield. And this weird revelation of how my life started relating to all the comics that I absorbed in my life has never gone away since 2002. I live my life feeling comic book everywhere in every situation. And it snowballed so badly on that flight because of the anxiety that when I landed in LAX, I got down there and the woman said to me, can you sign here? It was an Air Canada boarding pass thing. I had to sign. She said, sign here. When I signed my name, and my name, probably informed by my obsession with comic books, I signed my signature as if it was comic book printing, like lettering. It's all caps, S-T-E-V-E-M-A. It takes forever to do. People think I'm crazy. But it looks so nice on the page. It's so easy to read. And I signed that, and the woman behind the counter looked at it, and she said, I need your signature. And I said, well, that is my signature. And she said, honey, that signature is so easy to forge. And I said, well, if you want to forge a signature, any signature is easy to forge. If I looked at anyone's signature and wanted to copy it, And she said, my signature is not easy to forge. I said, what does your signature look like? Okay, you have to imagine now that you are, again, the sheet of paper, and you're seeing through the paper at her giant hand reaching down with the pen, and she did this. It's like, okay, I see your point. And as I walked away, I thought, that's a 4-panel comic strip. I've got it boarded out in my head. That's the punchline where I'm like, oh yeah, she kind of schooled me there at the end. And then I stepped from there. I was kind of stressed about my flight still. Snaking line to go through security. Take off your shoes and belts. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss my meeting in San Diego with this editor who's going to supply me with my dream job of writing a comic book, a professional comic book for the first time in my life. Stressed out. I'm going to the front of the line, snake to the front of the line, finally get there. I'm running really low on time. I meet a really charming guy at the counter. He's making me feel at ease. He's like, hey man, take off your shoes, take off your belts. I'm like, okay, got everything off. Put the stuff through. And he says to me, what's that say on the back of your hoodie? I was wearing a vintage hoodie like this, but on the back it just said, Caldwell. I don't know what it meant. I don't know if it was the name of the person who owned the hoodie. I don't know if it was a school or something. I got it at a vintage shop. It just looked cool. I don't know. And the guy said to me, is your name Caldwell? I said, no. Oh, the hoodie, right, the hoodie, right. Oh, no, I just bought this at a vintage shop. Oh. And he's like, oh, that's too bad, man. I said, why? He said, because my name's Caldwell. I said, oh, hey, nice to meet you, Caldwell. And he said, but the crazy thing is no one, like my close friends, they don't call me Caldwell. And I started forming this comic in my head already, this interaction. And I said, oh, they don't call you Caldwell. What do they call you? He said, my real friends call me Poogie. Poogie? Yeah, man, Poogie. But like my good friends call me Poogie. Like people like around here that I don't really know that well, they call me Caldwell. But my good friends call me Poogie. And I was like, oh, well, that's a way better name than Caldwell. And he said, yeah, man, I thought so too. I was like, okay, man, check you later. Got my stuff, went through, went to the gate to board the plane. They looked at my boarding pass I got from the Air Canada woman with the astonishing signature. And they said, this isn't even a proper boarding pass. You don't even have all the sheets here. I said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, you got to go back. You have to go back through security and get the sheets you need. I said, well, the security line took me like 45 minutes to get through, and it's still the same length. Well, I have to line up again? And they said, yeah, because you could leave here, go get your piece of paper you need for that, come back in line with a gun and just cut through the line. And I was like, well, okay, I see your point. I go, so I go back and I say, you guys forgot to give me the actual boarding pass piece of paper. And I said, oh, so sorry, here it is. I said, well, I'm gonna miss my flight now. I'm gonna miss my meeting in San Diego. Is there anything you can do to bump me up ahead of the security line? And they said, no. So I got back to the security line and I stood there, didn't move. I looked at it, snaked up again, looked at my watch. I just cut through the front of the line. I had a plan. Cut the front of the line. There's a security guard there. His back's facing me. I cut the front of the line, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to Pookie. He's going to get me through here. And this guy turns around. He's like a big John Goodman-looking guy. Looks nothing like the other guy. Looks nothing like Caldwell. I was like, he's like, what are you doing? You can't cut the line. You got to go back to the end of the line, man. I said, yeah, I'm going to miss my flight, and I actually know Poogie. Oh, you know Poogie? Okay, go through. So I made it through LAX. Yeah. I'm going to draw that as a comic. The whole adventure in San Diego that week is going to be a graphic novel I'm doing now, based on that weird epiphany from that trip and my life transforming into a comic. But those are the first two stories that led me to see everything I do as a comic. That's pretty much it. Thanks.